Right, welcome to another video. 2 seconds, I'm just going to grab a drink. Right, in this video I'm going to be covering the Radiolink AT10 II. Now this transmitter I've been using on Flywing helicopters, no problem whatsoever. It's a great budget system. Don't get me wrong, it's nothing fantastic. It's not your Radiolinks, it's not your Spectrum handsets. It's cheap budget. It's what you get what you pay for, basically. I'm in the UK, and I think I bought this out of desperation in my local hobby store. And at first, I must admit, I hated it at first, but now I've actually got it and got used to it and used it on these Flywing helicopters. It works absolutely fine, and I'm glad I didn't. I've always been a Spectrum guy myself, and I'm glad I didn't go out and spend like 500 quid on an NX8 or whatever it is at the time. So they had one on the shelf in the model shop, so I just grabbed it because I needed it in an emergency. I've seen them on the Chinese websites, you know, the ones I mean. I'm not advertising them. The alley sites and the you know, the ones that bang good and all that lot. But I've seen them on there now in the UK for £85, and that's an absolute bonus when you consider what you get with the stock TX, with the Flywing helicopters. I think I worked it out. You pay about £60 for this when you get a PMP package. So a ready to fly package. So I basically I only got that because on the first helicopter I needed to buy 2 batteries. So that actually worked out to buy an extra tenner to get that. So I just got it just for the sake of it, and I'm glad I did, to be honest. But when it came to setting up this, there was no information on YouTube or anything out there with setting this up on Flywing helicopters. So I had a real headache setting it up. I've now had 2 people ask me how to set this transmitter up. So here we go. We're making a video so they can set their transmitters up. And yeah, I'll basically go for it. I'm not advertising the handset. It's basically that. It's the Radiolink AT10 II. It's available in 2 colours, I believe, in a silver colour, and it's also available in the orange. I've got the orange. It matches my FW450. Not only that, it's the only one he had in stock in this shop. So basically what you get in this box, right, so you get your usual gubbins, your instructions and everything like that. Read through your instructions, because that will advise you how to go online and make sure you've got the latest software in your handset. I will show you in the handset where you can see what software you've got in, and then just check on the website. All the information's in there. Make sure you're running the up-to-date software. So you get a bunch of stickers and instruction manuals, stuff like that. We don't need that for the moment, so I'll put that away. And so in the this is what's good about the Radiolink. Although it's cheap, you get a lot for your money. So you basically get your transmitter for your money, which, don't get me wrong, it looks okay. It is cheap feeling. Like I said, it's not your TX16S, it's not a Spectrum. The gimbals are a bit, but I say it's £85. For £85, or you're going to pay when you buy a Flywing helicopter, you're going to pay about £60 for that setup, and with that one you're going to get a 6-channel receiver. So if you're someone that likes adding auxiliaries or anything like that, then you've only ever got 1 spare channel when you're using this system. So bear in mind that system there will cost you about £60 when you buy a ready to fly kit. So for the sake of £85, you can get yourself something like this. This is what I did anyway. I got the AT10 II, and as you can see, it looks quite a nice handset. And let's say it feels cheaper, but for these Flywings it's fine. In the box you also get the Radiolink RT12DS receiver, which is an S-Bus 12-channel receiver. So straight away we've got the benefit, we've got an extra 4 channels, because on the other one we had 1 spare channel, which was 6. So we now have 10 and 11 and 12 extra. So with this system you've got 4 spare channels when you're running a Flywing helicopter, and you also get a telemetry sensor in the box as well. And this telemetry sensor will just give you a battery voltage back to your TX, so you can set some alarms for return to home and stuff. Personally, I've disabled my return to home. I'll talk about it later, but yeah, I've set an alarm on my TX so I get a beeping sound basically when I've got to return to land, rather than relying on the function on the helicopter. But for your money, you do get a good package. You get your transmitter, you get your receiver, and you get that. And like I say, I've seen this now available in the UK for £85, and it's an absolute bargain. Say it's nothing posh, it's nothing special, but it's perfectly capable of these Flywing helicopters. And for me, it's nicer than the supplied handset. And not only that, with my Airwolf, I've got a few different lighting circuits and stuff. With that one, I'm limited to one channel. On this one, I've got a spare 4 channels. So, and then this light here I use to change modes on my beacons. I won't go into that, but this video is more about just setting it up for a basic Flywing helicopter. But that's the transmitter basically. And to be honest, I've had this for about 3 months now, and I say at first I hated it. It's not just that I was a Spectrum guy in the past, so just learning a new menu, and then the fact that there was no information out there on YouTube on it. I didn't have a clue about H1 systems, so it was a little bit of a headache. It took me a while. Like, I'd go back to it, try a bit, leave it for a day, go back. So it took me probably 3 or 4 days just to suss it out and get it working. And I come across a few challenges, like I got it set up and then the lights wouldn't flash, so I couldn't initiate it. But I'll explain all that later on in the video. But that's basically, that's it. That's the Radiolink AT10 II. Like I say, I hated it at first, but now I don't regret spending the money on this one bit. It's perfectly capable for Flywing helicopters. It's got a 3 kilometer range, which the standard is a 1 kilometer range. It's really good. When you get it as standard, I'll say one thing: your throttle, that's normally your throttle sort of thing on mode 2. On a normal handset, it's always down, as on this one it was. The Flywing helicopters work best with the spring-loaded throttle, because or cyclic, whatever you want to call it, because if you want GPS, you've got to release it into the middle like that, so it will hover on the spot. And there's a little trick for taking off where you add a little bit of throttle and then return it to center. So having a spring-loaded throttle cyclic on the Flywing helps. It doesn't come that way, but you get a little package with a spring-loaded kit. Obviously, this is the ratchet kit that was on there already, so I've changed mine out. So when you get it, you'll have this little ratchet kit in there, which goes on the back of your gimbals, which keeps it down in the bottom, and if you tighten it, you get, you know what I mean. But I've changed that kit out, and I've put the spring-loaded system in there. So now I get that spring loading in the middle, which when you're flying the Flywing helicopters, like I say, with GPS and you need to return it to the middle, it's hands off sticks in the middle. If you haven't got the spring loaded function, it's hands off sticks and, oh, hang on, I got to put that in the middle. So it works best with a spring loaded switch on Flywing helicopters. Yeah, if anyone has, I mean, I won't go into that. If anyone has problems, I'm sure I can probably make a video if enough request it. But yeah, suss that out for yourself. Undo some screws. All you got to do is look at this one, because it's spring loaded, and copy it. You get a spring in there, take that ratchet off, put the spring in the opposite position what this one's on. It's fairly simple. I'm not going to go into it, but there you go. That's the Radiolink AT10 II handset, and this will be my setup for Flywing helicopters. I've split it down into some sections to make life easier, because not everyone will need all of it, but I'll try and explain everything I'm doing. But there you go for now. That's the handset that I've been using on my Flywing helicopters. In this chapter, I'll just quickly explain these, because you'll learn more in the programming. But this is how I've got my stick set up. Basically, I'm using this one as motor return. It's very similar to a stock handset. You've got your motor return there. Slight difference is I've got my inverted switch here. On their TX, it's here. This one here is route fly, 3-position switch, which is route fly, and then I've programmed these 2 switches together so we can flick between return to home, ATTI, 6G, etc., etc. I'll explain more in detail. These 2 switches are mixed. Because they're mixed, we can't get all 5 modes, we can only get 4 modes, but that suits me fine. Basically, the way I have these switches set up, when I push that all the way forward, it's GPS mode, and it doesn't matter where that switch is. When I've got it all the way this way, it's return to home mode, no matter where this switch is. So it's a good safety measure. So you can have it whichever way you want. If you want return to home, GPS, whatever you want, I've got it GPS forward. So when I'm flying, if I'm in trouble, I can just go whack, hit that forward, and I'm in GPS mode, with no matter where this switch is. Or again, if I want to quickly return to home, I know I've got to quickly pull it towards me, and it doesn't matter where this switch is. So I've got GPS, return to home. You can have it whichever way you want. It's just how I've got it, and I like them like that because they're your fail safes: return to home and GPS to stabilize your helicopter. So no matter what, you don't want to be fiddling around getting either of those modes in the middle. Well, where's my return to home? Where's my GPS mode? So the way I've programmed it is that's always GPS, that's always return to home. But when you put it in the middle position, it goes to ATTI when that one's up. But when that one's down, it goes to 6G. Or if you wanted to program it to be 3D, you could. So you could go ATTI and 3D when this is in the middle. So when this stick is basically in the middle, you're getting your different flight modes, your ATTI and your 6G, or your ATTI and your 3D, however you want to program it. But no matter what, that will always be GPS. Pulling it forward will always be return to home. So that's basically a quick explanation of the buttons. It is slightly different. It's just my preferred method. You can do it how you want, but one thing I will say, there's a reason why I've put the inverted there. I mean, you can program it many ways, but I've got my motor stop here, and I'm not using this switch because I don't want to be messing around with this switch and accidentally hit my motor stop. Same with my inverted. I don't really want to accidentally flip that if it was here when I'm trying to change modes and I didn't put my finger in the right place. So the 2 buttons that I don't really want to ever hit in flight accidentally, I've got isolated from all the other buttons. I think to me that just makes perfect sense. You're never really going to accidentally hit invert if you had it over here when you were trying to change this and accidentally inverted. So for me, the best setup is invert over here. By the way, that will only be available on the FW450s. It's not available on the scale helicopters, so just bypass that. But if you've got FW450, then this would be your invert, and again, motor stop. I just don't want them near any other switches I play with in flight because I don't want to press them accidentally. For that reason, I've chose this configuration. So there you go. There's a quick basic rundown of the switches and why I've programmed them that way. Again, do as you please, program whatever switches you want, but that's an explanation of my setup that I'm about to show you in the next chapter. Right, and in this chapter we're going to get on to programming the TX. Bear with me because it's been a while since I've had to actually program this. I'm still quite a newbie with this TX. As I've said before, I'm quite a newbie with this, so sometimes I still get the buttons wrong and get a little bit confused with this TX. It's the same with anything when you buy it and you've never used that system. So I'll try and remember precisely exactly what you've got to do. Right, so that's what you're going to get when you get your first screen when you're programming it in. So if you press this button here, this button is your mode button. If any time you get stuck and you want to get back to the home screen, just press end. Sorry, that one's normally end. Oh, sorry, yeah. If you get, see, I told you I get confused. If you get there and you want to go back to your main screen, which is that one, when you're in the menu, that one becomes end. So keep your finger on that one, it takes you into the basic menu. If you press it again, it takes you into the advanced menu there. Anything in this advanced menu we don't need for Flywing helicopters. Don't touch anything in this menu. So if I press it again, it will take us to the basic menu. So everything we need to do is within this menu. So sorry, I was just freezing then because there's something missing there, but I know why it's missing. Right, first off, model select. We want to go down to model select and program a model. So if we go use the cursor here to go down, and then there's a button here to press model select. I don't know how well you can see that. I'll try and zoom in a bit. There, you can see. Right, what I'm going to do, I'm just, for example purposes, I'm going to use number 4, and I'm just going to select that. Push for 1 second, it says. Are you sure? Press again. Yes. Flywing. Right, I've only done this program is completely stock. I've just quickly programmed in the name because it takes forever. It's really awkward and really annoying changing this, so I didn't want to do it on the video, but this is the Flywing setup. But if you do want to, I'll zoom back out again. If you do want to, 2 seconds, that's a bit awkward, isn't it? I'll try to get it just right. If you do want to change the name, then you just got to, whichever letter you want to change, you use that, then you go to it, then you've got to scroll through on your dial, select that, then go to the next letter. You suss it out for yourself. It's fairly simple. It's really awkward and really annoying. It's not touch screen and it's not laid out very well, but you only ever have to do this once, so I'll just take that to a blank, and there we go. We just got Flywing. So suss that out for yourself, pause a video, do it later, something like that. I just didn't want to be here for 10 minutes typing Flywing on the video. So we've now got model. You probably start on model 1, whatever you are. So model, I've named this model Flywing, so now I'm going to select that. So now I've got that model. So go back to that screen, and now first off we'll start with parameters. We press your parameters tab. This is just basically you've got your language, your stick mode, which are the way you have your sticks, radio frequency mode, backlight, that's how much percentage on your backlight. You can change the name there of your radio if you want. It's a Radiolink, so I just leave it. I haven't changed it. Right, here you've got settings you can change. You can use the cursor to go across. I don't know if you can see there. TX alarm, so that's set at 8.6 standard, so I've left that. So that's when your batteries in your TX get below 8.6 volts, you're going to get a warning alarm that your batteries are flat. So I've left that as stock. RX alarm is obviously to get an alarm if the voltage in your receiver gets too low. I've just left that stock, to be honest with you, because I'm not messing around with that. I've just left it because I use different models and stuff, but I don't really care too much about that because I'm not too sure what will happen with. So I've just left that one. You can the Flywing helicopter it should be 7.4, so you could set an alarm at 7 volts. So if all of a sudden you get an alarm and you think, why isn't my receiver getting 7 volts? You can set that if you want. I haven't personally. An external alarm is for your battery on the helicopter, because there is a telemetry with this. So you set your external alarm at, I've set mine at 14.8. So when my battery gets to 14.8, I get an audible warning. I've actually turned off in the software, I've turned off my return to home in low voltage, because I don't want whatever, I don't like using it. I don't like that return to home on low voltage. So instead of your helicopter going into return to home, now your transmitter is going to give you a warning when your battery gets to 14.8 volts. So set it at what you want. I think Flywing standard return to home is 3.6 per cell. So you would set that at 14.4. 14.4 is where Flywing set their return to home. But I've just set this at 14.8 because that's the battery value. So that's 3.7 per cell rather than 3.6. It's only one up. So I've set mine at 3.7 per cell. As soon as it gets to 14.8, I'm going to get an audible warning. So I know I'm pretty much close to landing my helicopter. I might have a couple of minutes left, but at 14.8, it's pretty much time to bring your helicopter home. So you get your audible warning on your TX. Yeah, and like I say, I've set mine at 14.8 because I believe once you go below the nominated value of the battery, which is 14.8 volt battery, once you get below that, it's just gone into lock mode. It does that. If your screen ever does that, just put your finger on the middle button and it will go back. It just locks itself, puts itself into safety mode. You can change that. You can, there we go, look, strange that should happen. Now there's your lock screen. I've got mine set at 255 seconds. You can't turn it off, which is annoying. That's the maximum, so I've set it at the maximum, and every now and then it will kick in like you just saw. So you can set it at whatever you want, but I've got it set at maximum 255, I think that is. But you'll see the icon on the screen. Just keep your finger on that and you go back. But as I was saying, I believe when you go below the nominated value of your battery. These are 14.8 volt batteries. Once you go down to 14.6, your C rating goes down in my eyes, because your battery's not fully 14.8, so it's getting quite depleted. So I've set my audible alarm at 14.8, but if you want to stick with Flywing at 3.6 when they do return to home, then set that at 14.6. So that's just a quick explanation on that. Anything else there you don't need to do. Obviously this is the version that you're running at the moment. You need to do that yourself. You need to go to their website and check for the latest version of firmware to make sure your TX has got the latest. To be honest, I don't know if that is the latest version, because I haven't checked lately, but I've had this about 5 months now, and when I purchased it, it was up to date. Whether there's been an update in the last 5 months, I can't say, but it tells you in the manual. Look in the manual, go on their website, just check that you've got the latest version updated on there, and that's where it tells you what version you've got. So that's that screen. That's all that basically does. So this is just all I've really set on here is my 14.8 volt to give me a warning on my TX when I should be returning to home and landing my helicopter. Again, set it at 14.6 if you like. I just like 14.8, just gives me a little bit more time depending if my helicopter's far away. So there you go, there's that parameter section discussed. So if we go back, and now we've done our model select, model type, we now need to change model type. So if we select that, when you when it's on, I've obviously changed this already, it would have been on helicopter, I think, when you first turn it on. But what you need to do is on this one, you need to select acrobatic. You don't need to worry about what it says there, and you don't need to worry about what it says there. Just set this to acrobatic, and it says push button for 1 second. So push the button for 1 second, and it's set to that. So if I go back, which is that button, and then we don't need to, we need to go down to reverse now. So if we go down to reverse, and there we see, I know from experience, after setting it up, you need to reverse this channel as well. I will show you later on in the software how this all works, but this one for me, but if it's different for you, I'll show you how to change it in the software later on. But for me, this one needed to be changed, so the elevator needs to be reversed. So what we do is we use the cursor to go down to there, and then we use the dial to go from reverse to normal. On this side, notice reverse or normal. So if we reverse that channel, select it, there you go, that has now gone to reversed. These two channels are reversed. So look at that screen now. This screen, everything is normal apart from channel 2 and channel 3, which need reversing. So there's that dealt with. So the next bit, we don't need to worry about any of this. We go to our auxiliary channels. So if we go over to our auxiliary channels and press select, that's what we'll have. So there you go. Right, I'll give you a quick explanation as to what the channels are. So try and remember myself. Channel 5, this is your H1 controller basically. So that's going to be your GPS, all of this. So we'll go into that in a minute. Channel 6 is spare, it's not used. So if we go down to channel 6, I mean, if you put lights in, I've got a video on how to install lights. So if you are putting lights in and you wanted to program them to switch up there, select what switch you want to program your lights into on channel 6. But we're not using channel 6 at the moment, so we have channel 6 at null. Channel 7 is motor run, and as you all know, motor run, I'm using switch F. So we're on channel 7, we need to program in switch F. So if we go down to channel 7 and then just scrolls through until you see switch F, A, C, D, E, F. So that's now our motor stop set to channel 7, which is switch F, which is that one there. So the next one is channel 8. Channel 8 is your auto fly. So whichever one you want to set up for auto fly, select that switch. As you know, I'm using that blue one there, switch C. So I will basically go down to channel 8 and go to switch C. Oh, I just went past it. switch C. So there we go, we have channel 8, which is switch C, that one there, which is our auto fly. So what we'll do now is we need to program channel 9, and this is only for FW450 owners, because this isn't available in scale. Channel 9 is inverted flight, and I'm using switch B, which is that one there, as you know, the green one. So if I go down, that's already programmed to switch B. So switch B, this one here is for inverted. Again, FW450 only, not Huey or Bell 206. So that's basically all you need to do for these to get those switches right for channels 7, 8 and 9. Now we go more detail into channel 5, where we do our switch mix and programming GPS, ATTI and everything like that. So now on to channel 5. Right, and in this screen we're going to set up our GPS, our ATTI, 6G, etc, etc. I'll try and put the values up on the screen, but it's slightly different to Flywing, whereas Flywing go values of 1000 to 2000, 1000 being 3D, 2000 being return to home. On this TX it's slightly different, it's 0 to 100%, so it's the same principle. The bottom value 0 is 3D, the top value 100% is return to home, the middle value 50% is GPS, etc, etc. It'll all come clearer as we go on, but I'll show you how to do the switch mix so we can have up to 4 of the 5 flight modes. We can only do 4 of the 5 because we can't program in 2 3-way toggles with the way I do my programming. It will come clearer as I explain myself, but it's because of the way I think GPS and return land are fail safes. So when we look up there, I've got these 2 switches. I've got switch G and switch D that I'm going to mix together. So we want switch G and switch D, switch G and switch D, switch G and then switch D. Right, that's the 2 switches we're going to be using to create our mixes. So then it does get a little bit confusing. I didn't have any of this help when I was setting up mine. I struggled for a little bit, but basically that says up, up. So when switch G is up and switch D is up, this is what we want to happen, right? So basically, if you remember, when I was up, I was always GPS. When I was there, I was always return to home, no matter where the switch is. Okay, so it just makes sense to me. To me, that's like stay GPS, and then towards me return land. It just computes well in my brain. That's stop, come. So that's why I've got that like that. Do it how you please, but I won't mumble on too much because it gets confusing, this button setup. But what it's best to do is, like, if we say, like I said, when that switches forward, we always want that to be GPS. So at the moment we're in this mode, so we want this to say GPS because we want that switch when it's in that position to be GPS, and GPS has a value of 50%. So let's go to there and get a value of 50%. So now that switch is going to activate GPS mode. But remember when we said about this switch, if that switch is switched down because we've got a mix on now, that's a different position. Now it's on down here, so we also need this to say GPS. So if we go down to that, it's GPS, there we go, and so that should say 50% as well. So now it will become a whole lot clearer what I was trying to say. So when that switch is pressed forward, I'm in GPS mode. When I flick this one again, watch, goes to the other one, switch, but that's also GPS mode. So no matter where this switch is, we go into a GPS mode. So it probably is making a bit more sense now. So don't forget, when we were fully towards us, so fully towards us, we got this on, and we want that return to home. So unfortunately on this one, it's you can't change the names, they're just set names, and it doesn't have, for example, I think it's 6G and 3D. So we're return, and RTH is actually RTL. So either return land or return to location, whatever that is. And that's 100%, that's where we want it. And don't forget, no matter where that switch is, we want return land. So which one's on now? This one. So we also need to do RTL at 100% on the bottom one. Right, there we go, RTL, and RTL is 100%. 100%. So again, no matter where this switch is, when this one is pulled towards us, so at the bottom position it's return land is on, we move the switch, return land is on. So I'm sure that's a lot clearer to you now. So now we need to program the middle position. So what I'm doing is in the middle position, that's when I'm going to be able to select 6G, ATTI, 3D, whatever you want. Personally, I don't use 3D mode, so when my switch is in the middle, as I've said before, that's ATTI for me, and that's 6G. Do it as you please. But yeah, that's so basically now we've got that one in the middle. When that one is up, we want to say ATTI mode. So which one is on? Oh, we're actually in ATTI mode, but that should say 40%. So if we change that one to 40%, we're now in ATTI mode when that switch, when the middle switch is here and that one's up. When the middle switch is there and that one's down, we've got this one on. So we want to change that one to, I'm just going to do it to 3D because it'll show up better when I show you an example on the H1 later on. I'm calling my 3D Sport because it doesn't have 3D option there, which is surprising. 3D is common in both aeroplanes and helicopters, so why it's not on here I don't know. So we basically want to set that one to a value of 0, and that's 3D mode. So 3D mode is on. So again, when that switch is in the middle and that one is up, we are in ATTI mode. When it is down, we are in sports mode. So that is that section completely done and programmed. So, and like I said, no matter what you push forward, it should be reading in a GPS, and it is, no matter where that is. So that's basically that configuration there. I don't think I need to go on any more about that. So yeah, on to the next bit. We go back now. So we've programmed our H1 flight controller. We've programmed our motor on off switch. We've powered our autofly. We've powered our, autofly, and we've powered our invert. So I'm getting a bit confused again, but you know what I mean. That's that bit all set up again. So basically we're ready to go. One more thing that you do have to do, I mean, you can set timers. I mean, that's preference. I can quickly show you how I've set my timer up. There's many ways. Suss that out for yourself. I don't really care for timers myself. I have got one timer, so I can just, when I start flying, I press it and it will record my flight time. I can pause it and then start it again. You can set up many different variations. Look at that yourself. I'm not going to go into details about timers. That's personal preference, and it's not going to make any difference to making a Flywing helicopter fly. This setup is basically just to get you flying. Once you get used to it, play with your timers. I will give you a quick demonstration of what mine does, but I'm not going to go to it in this video because this is just to get you flying. But one thing we do have to do now is we need to go down to system. So only one thing we have to do in system, and select system. On system, on here you can change like the back color of the screen from black to white. Personally, I hate the white background, it's awful, so I don't have it on that. So if you have a look, you can have a white background. It actually probably looks a bit better on the camera than the back, so it might have been better for recording, but I like the black mode, but that's entirely up to you. But what you need to do now is change that to 12 channel, because we're using the R12DS receiver, so we need to have this set up as 12 channels. So we select that, we've now got that selected as 12 channels. So we go back. So I'll just give you a demonstration now. I don't know if you noticed just before when we was in auxiliary channels, we didn't have 11 and 12, we didn't have them down there before. So it's changed it and given us 11 and 12 extra. So there you go. We need to change that to give us 12 channels. You don't need the 12 channels if you're not adding auxiliaries and lights, don't get me wrong, but we're using it in S-Bus mode. S-Bus is 12/7, 12 channels, so put it into 12 channel mode and you'll see on your auxiliaries all. Before I done that, we didn't have those two, but now I've done that, we've got the full 12 channels. So go into the system and just do, as I just showed you, do the 12 channels. And to be honest with you, that is pretty much it for the transmitter setup. That is all you have to do. Right, and here we go again. Right, this section, AR12DS receiver and how to bind it to your AT10 II transmitter. I'll just quickly go over this briefly. This section here is for your telemetry sensor to go into. There's the plug for the telemetry sensor. As you can see at the bottom, there's a red piece of writing, some red letters. I'll show you a bit closer. The red cable needs to go where the red letters are. So when you plug this into your helicopter, plug that there, and that's that. And by the way, I know if you've seen my other video about not drawing power from this receiver and stuff like that, again, I emailed Peng Pilot, who's the owner of Flywing, and asked him about using one of these telemetry sensors. I'll try and get that in. Using one of these telemetry sensors on here, because we're told not to draw current. But he said this sensor is absolutely fine to use alongside this receiver, because mainly because I think that plugs into the balance lead, so it's taking its power from the battery and not the receiver. It's just sending a signal into it so it can transmit it to your transmitter. So I have had Peng Pilot tell me that it's perfectly safe to use this alongside with this, even though we're told not to draw current, and this attaches to the balance lead of your battery. So yeah, we don't have to worry about that. So but that gets plugged into there like that with the red wire at the bottom. Another thing I'll point out here as well is, if you notice down the side, we've got red numbers and we've got blue numbers. The red numbers are when we're in this mode, DSSSS and FHSS. When we're in that mode, we are running channels 1 down to 11. But we don't want to be in this mode. We want to be in S-bus mode for a Flywing helicopter. So blue LED, S-bus mode. The LED's here, by the way. So when that's flashing blue, we are in S-bus mode. When that LED is red, we are in this mode. So we want to be in blue LED mode. And then you notice it changes. It starts at channel 3 and goes down to 12 and then S-bus. So we just connect our cable into here for the Flywing helicopter on the S-bus with your signal wire at the top. You've got 3 pins there. Your signal wire goes at the top, and the signal wire on a Flywing helicopter, I'll bring that one over, it's the one with the white stripe. So try and bring that in focus a bit more. So that's your signal wire, and that's got to go up the top. But yeah, so when you're in S-bus mode, basically this then becomes channel 3, that's channel 4, that's etc all the way down. So your S-bus lead goes in there, and then you have channels 3 to 12. These you don't use obviously because they're in helicopter, but if you add in auxiliaries, you've got channel 6 is spare, channel 10 will be spare, channel 11 will be spare, channel 12 will be spare. So they're all channels you can run lights off, but we need this to be flashing blue, or at least when it's bind mode it's blue. When it's fixed to the receiver it will be a solid blue. But I'll show you how to do that now. So when you get it and you plug this receiver into your Flywing helicopter, notice I've got it, that's where that lead is anyway. Signal wire on the helicopter, if you actually look on the Flywing helicopter, the signal wire is actually on the bottom, so we've got the white stripe on the bottom. And then you bring it over to your receiver, which it says signal positive negative, so it's signal positive negative, signal wire to the top, the one with the white stripe. So that's it, that's that receiver plugged into the helicopter. Now as well, we can plug in our telemetry sensor, and that goes into there basically. And then with this side of the telemetry sensor, this goes into your balance lead onto your battery. It'll only fit in one way, and you've got to start at the ground point because it will do anything up to a 6 cell. We're using a 4, but you always start at this grounding point, which is there. So this will only go in one way. So if you look, it won't go in that way at all. I have to spin it around, and it can only fit in that way. So you always start at this end where it says ground and put that on to your balance plug, and then that will detect all 4 up to 4 cells. See what I mean? So that lead goes there, and then that's that bit done. So if we go back to the receiver now, I'll show you what we need to do with the receiver. Excuse me, I've got wires everywhere now, it's going to be a bit awkward. Right, so when we plug our battery into our helicopter, right, let's see, the receiver, it's got that red light on I mentioned. Now if I get something thin and small, we need this light to be blue. In there, just here, there's a little button in there to press. So you don't need a bind plug with these, there's a little bind button. So if you hold that for like 1 second, that will go from red to blue, and that will take us into S-bus mode. And when you hold it down for 3 seconds, it puts it into bind mode. So if we just press it, I'll just try and get that thing in there. It's a bit of a funny timing. It's typical, this will happen on camera. It was working fine just now. It's because my thing wasn't in there properly. Right, so we got it into bind mode, but there we go. It's a bit temperamental, but it's like 1 second to get it from blue to red. So now it's blue and flashing. That means we're in S-bus mode, and it's now gone into bind mode. So all you do now is we go over to our TX. We turn our TX on, and what's this signal bar? You don't have to press bind on here, it'll automatically find it because we've already selected bind on the receiver. There you go, signal bar's just come up, and you probably heard the heligram in the background click. So now it's bound. You didn't need to do anything like that, you just had to get the flashing blue light on the receiver. And there you can see that receiver light is no longer flashing, it's solid blue, meaning we're in S-bus mode and we're connected to the thing. And as you can see, when you do, I'll quickly explain the screen. There you go, when you flick for your flight modes, it tells you there, GPS, ATTI mode, return land mode, sport mode. It's got to be in the middle for sport mode, sorry, ATTI sport, and then return land. So it tells you there what mode you're in. This one here is obviously telling you the voltage of your handset. This one here is telling you the voltage of the receiver, 7.3, and this one here is telling you the voltage of your battery, 16.7. So there you go, that's just a quick explanation of the screen and what that does. And now, as you can see, we've got that, and we're fully bound to the helicopter with a solid blue light, and that is pretty much it for binding a receiver. I'll just show you on the H1 unit. We're in GPS, looking for GPS. Obviously I'm not going to find it because I'm indoors. If I go down to the bottom position, there you go, I've got return home. If I put the switch in the middle, that's ATTI, and then if that was the switch in the middle, and then when you put that one down, it goes blue, that's 3D, but return land was purple. So blue 3D, which is that one, and then if I zoom out, if I put it up, it goes into ATTI. And remember before, always put it forward, it's always in GPS mode. Pull it towards you, it's always in return to home mode. So there you go, there's all and everything working as it should. And again, I will just show you sticks down and out. Because I haven't calibrated this program. There I was showing off, and I haven't calibrated this handset. So next I'll show you how to calibrate this handset. That's what I was on about before, and then we will get a flashing light. At the moment I can't initiate this helicopter. No matter how long I hold both sticks down and out for, I don't get a flashing light, and that is because I haven't calibrated it yet on the PC. So the next step is to show you how to calibrate your sticks on the PC. But there we go, we're all bound and everything, and as you can see it switches between the modes. If I went into GPS mode, it's probably because I haven't calibrated my sticks yet. Yeah, I've gone into GPS mode, so everything's working as it should. Elevator up, elevator down, swash, so everything's working as it should. And I'm just moving my sticks, so everything's working. The only thing that's not working is it won't initiate, and for this we need a stick calibration. So from this binding, we're going to move on to how to do this in the H1 software. Alright, in this section I'm just going to quickly show you how to just a quick run over of the H1 system, and mainly how to calibrate your sticks. as I've said before, this handset will not work if you haven't calibrated your sticks due to the endpoints being in a different position. Right, basically you need to have already downloaded the H1 software. From my belief, it's only available on Windows PCs. I don't believe it's available on Mac. Please check this, but I'm pretty confident you have to have a Windows based PC. I've got a Windows laptop, so I can take it out in the field with me, so I can do calibrations in the field. You don't have to do calibrations in the field, but I do, and it also allows me to see my satellite counts and stuff. So I take my laptop with me every time I go to the field. So you open up your H1 software, and when you open up your H1 software, every helicopter has a different COM number. So what I'll do now is I'm going to get the USB-C cable. It's already plugged into the laptop. Heli's all powered up. I'm just going to plug the USB-C into the H1 controller. Bear with me 2 seconds. I can hardly see what I'm doing. I ain't got my glasses on. Right, you heard the beep on the computer. So that is connected now. And now all of a sudden, right, I'll zoom in here. My Huey, I think my FW450 is COM 7, but my Huey comes in at COM 12. So if I select COM 12, and it will, and then go up to connection, right, it will start to read the H1 software within my Huey now, and there you can see it's read it. Read complete, 102 minutes, type scale heli. So there we go, that's our H1 software. This is where we are with this at the moment. Now what we need to be doing now, the first thing we need to do is the stick calibration. Now the joystick calibration is this one here at the bottom. So you basically just bring your cursor over onto it, highlight joystick calibration, and then we get our TX. I'll just zoom out a second so that makes life easier. Now on your TX, as you most know, you just go to all your endpoints. I do 2 circles both ways, and then just back the other way, and then that just gives it your endpoints. Then you can go side to side and forward and back if you want. Just give it a good few inputs, put your radio back, and now the software knows the endpoints of your transmitter. So if we press OK, and now it's recorded all our endpoints here. If you go there, it now knows what the endpoints are of this transmitter. So whereas before, where we didn't get the flashing light so we could do the motor run, that's because our endpoints are out. Now our endpoints are all corrected. Everything should work fine. Right, and another thing I mentioned in the last video was about the reversing points. This is where you check to see everything is working, that you've programmed everything in fine. So now when I get my transmitter, I'll get my transmitter. If I zoom out a bit, because that'll be easier. So if you notice, you'll notice the collective changing on the main screen. So when I go up, positive, negative. So we know that one's good. I won't zoom in because it's harder, but you can see that one's moving. If I go left to right, that's the tail on mine. So you can see left to right on here, left to right. So that's all working fine. When we go to the next stick, we got the aileron. So when I go right, green goes right. So that's all correct. And then we go forward and backwards. We got the elevator forward and backwards. So forwards, backwards. So if any of them aren't working as they should, forward, back, left, right, forward, back, left, right. If they don't correspond correctly, find which one is out. And if you remember last time, the screen's locked, we went back into reverse down in this bottom corner, select reverse, and then we had all those. So if any of them are out, say if it was saying your aileron was out, then you would go to number 1 and reverse it. But that's how I had to do mine, so I can't imagine that your transmitter will be any different to what mine was. And if you remember, just to reiterate, everything was normal apart from channel 2 and channel 3. So that's that basically covered. You've done your stick calibration now. There's a quick rundown of the software. I won't go into any of these settings, that's all advanced. This is just a basic setup. And of course you'll have to do this magnometer calibration. To do that you'll need to take your laptop outside with the heli plugged in with this USB-C cable and your heli. Go outside, press calibration, spin your helicopter on its axis like that, then drop it down, spin it around, then spin it around this way, and then the green lines will keep going up until they're full, and then press automatic restart it, disconnect, and then your heli is completely calibrated, not just your sticks, that's your helicopter as well. And that's quite crucial, especially if you come across a point where you constantly get a red flashing light, and that means that your compass calibration is out. So it's something I've just experienced recently which confused me. So this is quite crucial as well, the magnometer calibration. So yeah, apart from that, so like I was saying before, we couldn't get the motor to initiate, could we, with the flashing light, because our endpoints were out. So now we've done our stick calibration. If I just disconnect us from the helicopter, I'm going to take the USB-C cable out. So that's the laptop bit dealt with. So what we should do now is, if you remember before, I'll try and get all this into position a bit better. Excuse me, I'm not very well organised here. Right, I'll see if you can see that a bit better. So if I go like that, you can now see the light flashing on the H1 unit, and you can now see the TX. And whereas before we couldn't get it to initiate with the flashing lights, so now, yeah, you can't do it because I've obviously not put GPS, but if I go into 3D mode, and I've got that, we've got the solid blue light, and I'll bring the transmitter over if I can squeeze it in there somehow. See if I can zoom out. See, I said I wasn't organised, but if I do sticks down and out now, and we've got the blue flashing light. So in theory, we could take off now. Obviously we're not in GPS, but we'd be taking off in 3D, but we wasn't getting that blue flashing light. It's gone off again now. Quick example, down and out for a couple of seconds, and we've got a blue flashing light. At this point, we can now hit the motor run stop, whereas beforehand we couldn't get that light flashing, so we would never have been able to activate the motor. So now your transmitter is fully set up and ready to fly one of these Flywing helicopters. So I think that's pretty much it. I don't think there's any more to add to this video, so hope that's been a great information to you. Good luck and happy flying. Right, in addition to this one, I forgot to mention this just now. I'll give you a quick, I'll show you something quickly on this handset. Right, when we press this button here, normally when you're in the menu, oh, the screen's locked at the moment, so press that. Normally when we're in the menu, that's to come out of the menu back to our main screen, end. But when you're on your main screen, this button does something different. So first off, it'll go to there, showing you all your channels. It shows you where all your stick movements are. So I'll try and, so that, and then when you move your switches, so it just tells you basically that all your switches. When you go onto this screen here, I mean, it just tells you all GPS. Unfortunately, there might be a sensor, I haven't found it yet, that we can attach these helis and then get all this information from the GPS. I don't know how to do this yet. I don't know if you can, but what I want to point out on this video is, see here, you've got the RSSI. That is the strength of your signal coming from your receiver. And we're all told when we have receivers that the aerials should be 90 degrees to each other. And now when you see when I move the aerial now, do you notice the numbers change? Now you want that number, when you've got your best signal, that number is as low as possible. So when I put, look, I'm just putting those wires together like that at the moment. That's actually not too bad. But normally it'll be like, if your aerials are in the wrong position, that'll be quite high. Anything like below that sort of area is brilliant. And if you have a look now, I've got my aerials sort of at a 90-degree angle, and we've got an RSSI of 90. Brilliant, that's fine. The lower you can get that number when you're positioning your aerials, the better. So it, again, if I move them somewhere else, it goes up, it moves around. So that's just a little quick tip. When you're setting up your receiver and you're moving your aerials around like that, that RSI meter will do. And the lowest you can get it, 0.8, 0.7. Brilliant, look at that, fantastic. So when you're setting up your aerial and you're receiving your helicopter, go to that screen and get that number as low as you can, and that way you're always going to guarantee a really good signal. So, and that's just from the main menu. You press this button here, so you go into your sticks and then you go into like this screen here, but that RSSI will tell you what your signal strength is.